My beloved child, I speak to you in this moment not to frighten you, but to keep you awake and aware. There are times in life when your soul senses a tremor before your mind can name what is approaching. You feel your heart beating faster, your breath growing shallow, a fragile sensation as though one more passing wind could cause you to collapse. I know. I see it clearly. And because I see it, I come to speak to you before that wave reaches the shore. What you are experiencing is not a weakness to be ashamed of. It is a sign that you are standing at a major turning point, a place where familiar layers of protection are being shaken, where you can no longer rely on old habits or outward confidence to move forward. I call this a critical hour, not because danger is reigning, but because truth is about to be revealed, and truth always carries weight. My child, very soon you will hear news that unsettles your mind, not because it is cruel, but because it disrupts an order you once believed to be solid. You may find yourself asking, why now? Why me? These questions are a natural human response when familiar ground begins to shake beneath your feet. But before any other words reach your ears, I want you to hold fast to this truth: no event, no spoken word, no circumstance touches your life without passing through my permission. I do not say this to justify pain, but to lay a foundation for peace. When you know that all things pass through my hands, you no longer need to brace yourself against a chaotic universe. You only need to learn to trust the one who holds that universe together. I know you feel as though your strength is running low. There are moments when you think that one more ounce of pressure would be enough to make you fall. But listen to me carefully. The sensation of nearly fainting is not always a sign of the end. Sometimes it is the moment just before you release what you no longer have the strength to carry. You have tried for a long time to keep everything under control, to appear steady, to avoid disappointing others, to avoid looking weak even to yourself. I do not blame you for this. I understand that you learned to live this way in order to survive. But now I am inviting you into a deeper truth. You do not need to be strong in the way you once thought. The strength I give is not a rigid hardness, but the ability to remain standing even when your knees tremble. The ability to keep trusting even when your heart has not yet caught up with understanding. When that news arrives, your first reaction may be shock. You may feel as though someone has pulled away the chair you were leaning on. But remember this: I do not remove anything without preparing a firmer support in its place. There are things I allow to be shaken not so that you will collapse, but so that you will stop building your life on what is fragile. You have leaned on things that can change human promises. Outward stability. Plans that once seemed certain. I do not condemn you for this. It is how you learn to live in this world. But now I am teaching you something deeper. Only I do not change. Only I am a foundation that is not shaken by bad news or good news alike. My beloved, what I desire from you is not loud courage, not bold declarations before others. What I seek is quiet, trusted decision of the heart made in a moment when no one else is watching. When that news comes, you can choose to let fear take over your thoughts, or you can choose to pause for one breath and whisper within yourself, I know you are here. That single moment of choice will shape how you pass through what follows. Fear always wants you to believe that you are alone, that everything is beyond your control. But the truth is that I go before you not only to prepare the way, but to understand every stone your feet will step upon. I stand beside you, not as a distant observer, but as a companion who feels every trembling beat of your heart. And I uphold you from behind, even when you no longer have the strength to turn and look. My beloved child, what is drawing near does not knock in familiar ways. It does not arrive slowly enough for you to adjust your breathing, nor does it give you time to rearrange your thoughts or reinforce outward confidence. It comes swiftly, powerfully, beyond what your natural senses have used to measure safety. That is why you feel disoriented, as though your entire inner system has been placed on high alert. But I tell you now, before anything strikes your heart directly, this is not a moment meant to crush you. It has not been sent to erase you, nor to prove your fragility. It comes to illuminate, to uncover, to clarify a question you have long avoided, facing what you have truly built the foundation of your life upon. You have grown accustomed to living with a certain degree of control. You learn to read situations, anticipate reactions, and prepare backup plans for what might happen. That is not wrong. I do not dismiss your wisdom or your carefulness. But, my child, there are things in life that cannot be managed by experience, nor mastered by the alertness of reason alone. When what exceeds the capacity of natural senses arrives, everything you once relied upon will be tested, not because those things are entirely worthless, but because they are not strong enough to carry the full weight of your soul. And at that very point, the truth is revealed. Are you standing on a solid foundation? Or are you merely keeping your balance on temporary supports? You say you are afraid you will collapse, that the sensation of nearly fainting leaves you confused and unsettled. But I want you to understand this clearly. The moment when your body or your emotions reach their limit is not the most frightening thing. What is far more concerning is when you build your definition of strength on things that can crumble in an instant, the approval of others, the stability of circumstances, or the feeling that you are in control of everything. These may hold up on clear, sunny days, but they tremble when the storm rises. I do not allow this storm to punish you. I allow it to save you from a dangerous illusion, the illusion that you can be your own foundation. My beloved child, the moment that is coming will not ask whether you are ready. It will not wait for you to steady your emotions, nor will it adjust its intensity to match what you believe you can endure. But I am here, speaking to you beforehand, so that you do not misunderstand its meaning. This is not an attack, it is a measure. Not a measure to condemn, but a measure to reveal. When everything is shaken, whatever is not placed upon me will show its fragility, and you will see clearly what in your life can stand without you straining to hold it up, and what exists only because of your constant effort. You may realize that you have been using your own endurance as a foundation. You took pride in the fact that you could bear it, get through it, not fall apart. But, my child, endurance is not a foundation. It is merely a response when the foundation is not yet firm. I did not create you to live in a state of perpetual tension. I did not call you to me so that you would become an exhausted warrior, but so that you would become someone who knows how to rest even in the midst of the battlefield. True strength is not the ability to stand when everything is still within your control, but the ability to release control and yet not collapse. What is about to happen will bring you to a point where all old definitions of safety grow blurred. You will not be able to rely on ordinary intuition, nor will you be able to fully soothe yourself with past experience. And it is precisely there that I invite you to look to me again, not as a last option when everything else has failed, but as the foundation that has always been there, simply waiting for you to dare to place the full weight of your life upon it. I do not change with circumstances. I do not weaken when you are weak. I do not waver when the world around you is shaking. If you build upon me, you may tremble, but you will not fall. Everything you see around you, the words that sound out and then fade away, the faces that come and go, the circumstances that seem fixed and suddenly turn, the unexpected messages that make your heart lurch, all carry the fragile nature of morning dew. They appear for a moment, glistening in the early light, and then vanish when the sun rises higher. Time and again, you have placed the weight of your emotions upon these things, and each time they changed, your heart was left unsteady. But I say to you, in a world that is always moving and endlessly shifting its form, I remain here unworn by time, unbent by upheaval, unfaded by the changes that people call inevitable. I am the one who endures forever, and for that reason, I want you to learn to anchor yourself in me, not in what is passing away. My beloved child, I know that in the hours ahead you will face a moment that will test your steadiness, not because I wish to measure how much you can endure, but because I desire to prepare you so that you will not be swept away. I do not come to you after everything has already fallen apart. I come beforehand to speak, to remind, to lay a deeper spiritual foundation within you. When that news arrives, whether it takes the form of a word spoken, a decision made, or an unexpected change, your body may tremble, your heart may beat faster, your breathing may grow heavier. This does not disappoint me. I do not demand that you be numb or unmoved in the face of life's tremors. What I desire is that, amid all those natural reactions, your spirit remains anchored, not drifting with every wave of emotion. I am doing a work far deeper than simply helping you get through a situation. I am teaching you the difference between being hardened and being steadfast in faith. Hardness closes you off, building walls so that nothing can be felt. Steadfast faith is different. It allows you to feel fully, yet refuses to let emotions take the helm. I am not training you to become cold. I am strengthening your faith so it can support you even when everything around you feels fragile. Faith does not make you immune to surprise. Faith enables you to stand firm when surprise arrives. You have lived long enough in a state of reaction. Each time something unfolded outside your expectations, you tensed, immediately worrying, analyzing, blaming yourself, or rushing to regain control. I see how that weariness has accumulated within you, like a burden you have carried for so long that you forgot you could set it down. Reaction is natural, but if you live forever in reaction, you will be led by circumstances rather than led by faith. Now I invite you into a different way of living, not denying what is happening, but responding to it with trust. Responding is not ignoring reality or pretending to be strong. Responding is choosing to stand upon my unchanging foundation and, from there, to view everything with new eyes. My beloved child, understand this. My preparation is not meant to spare you from every tremor. This world does not promise lasting stability, and I do not deceive you with empty assurances that everything will always be calm. But I promise you something deeper. No matter how circumstances shift, I remain the place where you can place the full weight of your life. When you build on what is temporary, even a strange breeze can cause you to stagger. When you build on me, you may feel the force of strong winds, yet your feet will remain on the rock. In the hours ahead, when you hear what unsettles your heart, remember that I have spoken to you beforehand, not to make you anxious in anticipation, but to help you realize that, in the deepest sense, you are not taken by surprise. I was there before you. I saw this moment before it reached you, and I planted these reminders within you so that when the waves rise, you will know what to hold on to. Faith does not erase questions, but it keeps you from sinking into them. Faith does not make you immune to sorrow, but it keeps sorrow from turning into despair. My beloved child, I am not hurried in my work. I am not shaping you for a single moment, but for an entire journey. What I am doing in you now will carry you far beyond the event before you. As you learn to respond with faith, you will discover that your strength no longer depends on whether things unfold according to your plans. That strength flows from a deep knowing that I am the one who holds your life, and that nothing can separate you from my presence. Let this word anchor you when your heart wavers. Everything you see is temporary, but I am eternal. Voices will change, situations will pass, yet my love and faithfulness do not wear thin with time. When your body feels weak, let your spirit lean on me. When old reflexes rise up, choose to respond with faith, a faith that is not loud or showy, but steady and deep. And when you look back, You will recognize that it was in this very moment of testing that I taught you how to live, no longer ruled by what is temporary, but anchored firmly in the one who remains forever. My beloved child, pause for a moment and listen to me with your whole inner being, not merely with your ears, but with the deepest place of your soul, the place you often avoid when life feels calm and manageable. I have called you many times into trust, and I know very well how you trust. You trust when the sky is still clear, when uncertainties remain within what you can anticipate, when you still feel a sense of control over the situation. You trust when you can foresee outcomes, when you still have backup plans, when there is a familiar ground you can return to if things do not go as expected. This is a form of conditional trust, not wrong, but not yet deep enough to sustain you when the ground beneath your feet begins to tremble. Now I am leading you through a place where old maps no longer work. There, the experiences that once brought you reassurance are no longer sufficient to explain what is unfolding. You cannot predict how things will progress. You cannot measure the impact in advance, and you cannot use your current understanding to calm yourself. I know this unsettles you, because you are accustomed to clarity. But my child, if every path were fully illuminated from the start, faith would be reduced to intellectual agreement rather than the surrender of the soul. I am not removing the light to make you lose your way. I am lowering your line of sight so you may learn to hold my hand instead of grasping for answers. Ask your own heart this: how could you ever discover the depth of faith if everything that comes to you is smooth and comfortable? Faith is not measured by days without wind, but by how you stand firm when the storm rises. If you have never faced a moment when everything shakes, how would you know whether you are standing on sand or on rock? There are truths that reveal themselves only when the outer layers of stability are stripped away. I am not rushing this process, but neither am I delaying it, because I know you are ready to learn a deeper lesson, one that cannot be taught through words, but only engraved through lived experience. My beloved child, there is something you must understand clearly. I do not bring you to the edge to shame you for your weakness. I bring you there to free you from the illusion that you must always be strong. When your own strength runs dry, when familiar strategies no longer work, when you realize you cannot keep yourself standing, this is not failure. This is the most honest moment of our relationship. At the very point where you release confidence, rooted in your own ability, you begin to feel the hand I have been holding you with all along. News is coming, whatever form it may take, and it will create a wave within you. It may leave you stunned. It may awaken old questions. It may cause you to doubt the peace you thought you possessed. But listen to me slowly and clearly. That news is not permitted to destroy you. It is not sent to steal your peace, but to reveal where that peace is rooted. If your peace depends on everything going according to plan, it will waver. If your peace rests in me, it will remain steady even when you do not yet understand what is happening. I do not confuse peace with outward quiet. True peace is not the absence of disturbance, but my steady presence within it. Your body may tremble, your heart may race, your thoughts may be scattered, but deep within your soul, there remains an anchor that cannot be dislodged. That anchor does not come from the certainty of circumstances, but from my faithfulness. I am allowing you to touch this difference, not to frighten you, but to help you grow. My beloved child, remember this: I do not measure your faith by the words you speak when everything is going well. I look at your quiet choices when control slips from your hands. When you choose not to panic though answers are missing. When you choose to remain in trust though your emotions pull you elsewhere. When you choose to hold on to me instead of clinging to fear. This is when your faith is refined. It is not loud or dramatic, but it is deep and enduring. You once thought that strong faith meant never wavering. I teach you something different. Mature faith dares to keep walking even while wavering. It does not require certainty about the future, It only asks for faithfulness in the present, and within that faithfulness, I do my work gently yet firmly, quietly yet without ceasing. My beloved child, I have not left you alone in this land of unpredictability. I am here, going before you, step by step, standing beside you in every moment, and holding you even when you no longer have the strength to hold yourself. When the news arrives, allow it to clarify what must be clarified, but do not let it define you. Your worth is not determined by events. Your peace is not determined by information. All of it is anchored in me, the one who does not change when everything else does. My beloved child, remain still for one more breath, and do not panic at the wave of dizziness moving through you. What you are experiencing is not a sign that you are about to collapse, but a sign that you have reached the natural boundary of human strength. Your body reacts. Your emotions surge. Your thoughts become tangled. This is real. Deeply human. I do not blame you for it. I do not ask you to deny what you feel or to pretend you are strong. Yet even in this very moment, I am calling a deeper part of you to rise, the spirit within you, the part created to stand above pressure, to not be swept away by the violent waves of circumstance. I am inviting you into a trust deeper than anything you have known before. Not the kind of faith spoken when everything is calm, when you still control the rhythm of life and can predict tomorrow. I am calling you into a faith proven in fire when life places before you things that shake your soul, when you no longer have the strength to steady yourself with reason, when familiar supports suddenly become fragile. This is where faith ceases to be an idea and becomes a lifeline. My beloved child, this world does not move to a gentle rhythm. Life is full of sudden shifts, unannounced news, turns that appear when you believe you are walking a straight road. There are days you wake with a clear plan, yet by nightfall everything has changed. If every change is enough to bring you to your knees, the journey ahead will become a burden too heavy to carry. I do not say this to frighten you, but to awaken you. You were not created to live by reaction. You were created to live from the steadiness that comes from me. Understand this clearly. If every fragment of news can push you into panic, if every unexpected word can steal your peace, then you are handing the control of your inner life to external forces. In that place, the enemy does not need to attack directly. He only needs to stir circumstances to guide your reactions. That must not be allowed. Not because you must strain to hold yourself together, but because you belong to me, and those who belong to me are not shaped by the world's tremors, but by my unchanging presence within them. My beloved child, I am not calling you to become numb to life. I do not want you to turn into cold stone, unable to feel pain or emotion, but I want you to learn the difference between emotions and foundation. Emotions rise and fall. A foundation must not shift. When you build your life on news, on words, on outward stability, even an unfamiliar breeze can make you sway. But when you build your foundation on me, you may tremble, yet you will not be carried away. You may cry, yet you will not despair. You may feel confused, yet you will not lose your direction. I am teaching you a vital lesson for the long road ahead. You cannot go far if every disruption drags you back to the starting line. You cannot complete what I have placed within you if every surprise shatters your heart. I am not saying the path ahead will be free of trials. On the contrary, I tell you the truth, there will be moments even more unexpected than this one. And that is precisely why I am training your spirit now, so you learn to stand firm, not because circumstances are favorable, but because of your living connection with me, my beloved child. Remember this: the enemy is not afraid of loud declarations made when you are safe. What he seeks to break is your response when you are placed under pressure. If he can drive you into panic, disorientation, or doubt about your own worth, he gains an advantage. But I say to you, you are not unprotected. You are not abandoned in the midst of shaking. You belong to me, and I never release what belongs to me. When you feel dizzy, let it be a signal to turn inward, not to run away. Let your spirit speak louder than your natural instincts. Whisper within your heart, I am here. No ornate prayers are required. No false strength is needed, only an honest return. In that moment, you will discover that steadiness is not the absence of feeling, but the awareness of where you stand even as emotions shift. My beloved child, I am preparing you for a life no longer governed by fear, not because fear will disappear, but because it will no longer have the final voice. I am building within you an inner strength that flows from your bond with me, a strength that allows you to receive news without being crushed, to face surprises without losing yourself, to walk through unclear crossroads without letting go of hope. Believe this deeply: the world may shake, but you do not belong to its shaking. You belong to me, and because you belong to me, you will learn to stand not by your own strength, not by hardened indifference, but by a living, mature faith that has been tested and refined. When you stand this way, no news can steal your soul, no unexpected moment can define you, and no power can seize control of your reactions. I am here, and I am leading you steadily, step by step, even as the world around you trembles. My beloved child, I know well what is moving through your mind right now. I see the quiet questions circling within you, the assumptions you are arranging, the scenarios you are trying to construct in order to calm yourself. You are asking, what could be so significant that he would speak to me in advance like this? You try to imagine different possibilities, not out of curiosity, but because you hope that if you can anticipate what is coming, you will be less afraid. That is a deeply human reflex. When facing the unknown, your mind seeks to fill the empty spaces with reasoning, believing that understanding beforehand will help you control how you feel later. I do not fault you for this. I understand that you have learned to live this way in order to survive in a world that constantly demands preparation, calculation, and risk assessment. But, my beloved child, listen to me gently and clearly on this journey. Preparing your mind will not save you, not because your mind is weak, but because it was not created to carry the weight of faith. Your mind is very skilled at analyzing, reasoning, and connecting information, yet it always carries a hidden need to control the outcome. It wants to know what will happen, in what order, to what degree, and where everything will finally lead. That is why, the less it knows, the more exhausted it becomes, the more uncertain things are, the more it panics. If I were to prepare only your mind, you would still try to hold the controls, still grip the steering wheel, still insist that everything unfold within limits you believe you can endure. And, my child, the path I am leading you on does not operate by that logic. I am not coming to equip you with more information. I am not coming to give you a list of what is about to happen. I am not coming to help you be ready in the way you have always understood readiness. I am doing something else, something deeper, quieter, yet far more decisive. I am preparing your heart. Because when everything moves beyond understanding, what keeps you standing is not knowledge, but where you place your trust. The heart is where you choose trust or resistance, surrender or control, openness or withdrawal. If your heart is not prepared, no matter how sharp your mind may be, you will still collapse under the weight of what cannot be predicted. My beloved child, your mind keeps asking, what will happen? But your heart must learn a different question. Where am I with you in this? When you focus only on predicting events, you unknowingly miss my presence. You strive to understand the future while forgetting that I am in the present. And I tell you truthfully, it is not what happens that will define you, but how you remain with me when it happens. The path I lead you on does not require you to know in advance. It requires you to trust in advance. Trust not because you understand, but because you know who I am. I know you have grown accustomed to a subtle form of control. You do not always dominate things outwardly, but you maintain control by preparing emotionally, by rehearsing reactions, by telling yourself, I will be okay if. You believe that if you are not surprised, you will not be wounded too deeply. But, my child, that control, however carefully wrapped in wisdom, remains a burden. It forces you to stay alert, tense, and constantly defensive. I did not create you to live that way. I did not invite you into relationship with me so that you would keep your hand on every door, ready to slam it shut at the first sign of danger. The road I am leading you on requires a very real letting go. Not a letting go of responsibility, not a letting go of thought, but a letting go of the illusion that you must understand before you can trust. There are turns that can only be navigated with a softened heart, not a rigid mind. There are transitions that happen only when you release control, when you allow me to lead according to my rhythm, not your map. I know this frightens you, because surrendering control always carries a sense of vulnerability. But it is precisely within that vulnerability that you will discover that I am stronger than everything you have been trying to hold together. My beloved child, I am not preparing you by gradually familiarizing you with the idea of an approaching shock. I am preparing you by drawing you closer. I want your heart anchored firmly in me, so that when your mind has no answers left, your heart still knows where to return. I want you to learn how to rest in me even without understanding, to trust me even without foresight, to keep moving even when your hands are empty. This is not blind recklessness, it is mature surrender, born from relationship rather than self-confidence. I know you are trying to prepare yourself, but let me say this clearly. Your inner strength is not formed through prediction, but through attachment. When your heart learns to remain with me in silence, when you allow yourself not to know and still trust, when you stop forcing yourself to understand everything in order to feel safe, that is when you are being prepared in the deepest way. Because whatever comes, if your heart is already in me, it cannot destroy you. It may make you tremble. It may bring tears. It may confuse you, but it will not steal your foundation. My beloved child, I am not leading you down this path to make you lose control, but to help you discover a security deeper than control. True safety does not come from knowing everything in advance. It comes from knowing that I am here before, within, and beyond every event. When you release your grip on control, you do not fall into emptiness. You fall into my hands, and my hands never slip. Stop trying to imagine what is coming. Stop exhausting yourself by forecasting the future. Instead, allow me to do my work within your heart. Let me soften what has grown rigid, quiet what has been stretched too tight, and strengthen what has grown weary from carrying everything alone. You do not need to be ready in the way you think. You only need to be ready to trust me in a way you have never dared before. And when that moment comes, you will realize that because I have prepared your heart, you can stand firm even when your mind can no longer hold on to anything at all. My beloved child, I am inviting you to move forward into a way of living that is unfamiliar to you, not walking with a complete map in hand, not walking with every answer already secured, but walking within the absence of full understanding. This runs contrary to your natural instincts. Human beings long to see the road ahead, to know what they will encounter, to be certain that every step is safe. But, my child, if you only move when everything has already been explained, that is no longer faith, It is merely the agreement of reason. True faith begins when you dare to step forward, even when the light reaches only far enough for the next step. I know you desire understanding. You are not resisting me, you are seeking reassurance. You want to know that what is coming will not exceed your capacity to endure, that you will not be abandoned in the midst of upheaval. But listen carefully to what I say. Slowly and clearly, the path I am leading you on is not secured by knowledge, but by my presence. You are not called to grasp the future, you are called to hold tightly to me. When everything else collapses, what keeps you standing is not the information you possess, but the relationship you are living within. When that news arrives, your body's first reaction may be to freeze. Your breathing may grow heavy. Your heart may lose its rhythm. Your knees may tremble as though they can no longer support you. Do not be ashamed of this. It is not a sign of failure. It is the natural response of the flesh when faced with what lies beyond anticipation. I do not demand that your body appear strong. I do not ask you to maintain composure when your inner world is swaying. But in that very moment, I need something else to rise the spirit within you. Your spirit does not speak through emotion, nor through panic. It was created to remind your heart of truth, even when everything else is shaking. When your body weakens, when your reasoning temporarily goes numb, your spirit must speak and declare what does not change. God already knew this. Nothing comes to you by accident. No event catches me by surprise. What is overwhelming you now is not something that has just entered my awareness. I saw it long before, and I was there before it ever reached you. Your spirit must continue to remind you God warned you, not to make you fearful as you waited, but so you would not be crushed by the feeling of betrayal or abandonment. When you remember that I whispered to you beforehand, you will understand that I was not standing at a distance watching you stumble. I was preparing your heart little by little, even when you did not fully recognize it. The words I spoke to you, the silences I led you through, the times I taught you to remain still in uncertainty, all of these were part of the preparation. And then your spirit must go on to say, God prepared you, not by making you immune to pain, but by deepening the roots of your faith. I did not prepare you by giving you unlimited physical strength, but by teaching you how to lean. I did not prepare you by removing every trial, but by forming you to stand firm when trials arrive. You are stronger than you think, not because you endure well, but because I am within you. And finally, your spirit must proclaim the most important truth of all. God is standing with you. Not that I once stood with you in the past, not that I will stand with you at some distant point in the future, but that I am standing with you right now, in this very moment. When that news resounds, when the air around you feels heavy, when you feel alone amid a crowd of chaotic thoughts, remember that I have not left my place. I am beside you, not to pressure you into being strong, but to lift you when you no longer have the strength to rise on your own. My beloved child, I do not speak these things to plant fear in you about the hours ahead. I do not want you to live in anticipation of something terrible. I speak so you will understand that true strength does not come from avoiding dizziness, but from knowing that you are not alone within it. When the moment arrives, you may feel as though everything inside you wants to collapse. Yet, it is precisely then that the memory of my words will rise within you, not loudly, not dramatically, but firmly enough to keep you upright. I do not promise that you will not tremble. I do not promise that you will not weep. But I promise that you will not be crushed. I promise that even if you must sit down for a moment because you are exhausted, I will be there to help you stand again. The strength you will discover in that moment will not come from the flesh, not from human willpower, not from hollow self-reassurances. It will come from the truth that I am faithful, and that I never abandon the work I have begun in you. My beloved child, learn to walk without needing to understand everything. Learn to trust me when every other support falls away. This is not recklessness, it is maturity. It is the moment you stop demanding to see the entire picture in order to move forward, and begin trusting that knowing I am holding your hand is enough. When you live this way, news no longer holds ultimate power over you. Circumstances no longer define who you are, and fear no longer sits on the throne of your heart. When that moment comes, you will stand, not because you prepared perfectly, but because you trusted in the right place. And when you rise, though your legs may still tremble, though your eyes may still be wet, you will realize that the strength lifting you is not your own. It is my strength, flowing through you, holding you, leading you onward. And you will know that you have not merely survived a moment of shock, but have entered a deeper dimension of faith where you no longer live by what you see, but by the one who is with you in everything you have yet to see. My beloved child, I have heard your prayers in the quiet of the night and in the mornings when you choose to believe, even while your heart is weary. You have come to me many times, asking that your faith would grow stronger, that you would be led deeper, that you might see more clearly how my power is at work in your life. I have not forgotten those words. I do not treat them as passing wishes. But, my child, there are things you have not yet fully understood about the way I work within the human soul. Faith does not grow in ground that is always safe. It takes root and rises where your vision reaches its limit, where what you once considered certain begins to tremble. You ask for faith, yet you still hope it can grow without disturbing familiar structures. I love you too much to answer you in such a shallow way. Listen carefully. True strength is not formed through prolonged comfort. Comfort may soothe you, but it rarely matures you. When everything runs smoothly, you rely on habit, on experience, on formulas you already know. But when comfort ends, when the things you once leaned on can no longer support you, that is when the inner muscles begin to be trained. I am not seeking to exhaust you, I am training you. Training always requires stretching, always involves discomfort, but it produces an endurance that ease can never give. My beloved child, the revelation you long for does not arrive when your mind is controlling everything. It appears when your natural understanding reaches its point of powerlessness, when there are no longer enough reasons to explain, no strategies to turn things around, no data to reassure you. I do not despise the intellect I have given you. I simply do not allow it to sit on the throne of your heart. When your mind collapses under the weight of its limited understanding, I finally have space to reveal what lies beyond it. Revelation is not a reward for those who think well. It is grace for those who are willing to trust when there is nothing left to hold on to. I know you once thought that if I loved you, I would teach you by gentle paths. But let me speak the truth to you in love. I do not teach you through ease, because ease rarely reaches the root. I teach you through moments that test your endurance, moments when you cannot rely on fleeting emotions, on external encouragement, or on past successes. It is in such hours that you learn how to remain. Remaining is not because you have no other option, but because you have chosen me as your refuge. My beloved child, understand this clearly. Trials are not a sign of my absence. On the contrary, they are often a sign that I am very near. I do not stand at a distance watching you struggle. I am present within the process itself, adjusting every detail, measuring every pressure, weighing every heartbeat. Nothing comes to you beyond what I allow. I measure not to see how much you can endure, but to protect you from being crushed. What comes to you is measured by love, not by cruelty. If I permit a trial, I have already prepared a way for you to pass through it. You may feel as though your vision is failing. The things you once believed to be true, the things you relied on for direction, no longer seem clear. Do not be afraid of this. The failure of vision is not the end of faith. It is often the doorway into a deeper dimension. When you can no longer see clearly with your own eyes, you learn to walk by trust. When you can no longer secure the future, you learn to hold tightly to me. And this is the very faith you asked for, a faith not limited by what you can see. My beloved child, I know this transition is tiring for you. I know there are moments when you wonder whether you asked for too much, whether you traded peace for a journey that feels too demanding. But remember, you asked to go deeper. Going deeper is not only about seeing more, it is about being refined more. Going deeper is not only about sensing power, it is about learning to carry that power with humility and obedience. I do not give you strength so that you may shine. I give you strength so that you may stand firm when the light temporarily fades. Let me remind you once more, slowly and clearly, even this trial is under my control. I have not lost control. I have not allowed things to slip outside my purpose. When you feel that everything is beyond your grasp, it is only a sign that it is exactly where it should be, in my hands. And my hands do not tremble. I am not confused. I know what I am doing with you, because I know you better than you know yourself. My beloved child, I am not hurried in my work. I do not force you to grow overnight, but I also do not allow you to remain too long in a safe place once it begins to make you stagnant. I love you enough to draw you out of comfort when comfort starts to dull you. I love you enough to allow moments that will test your endurance, because that endurance will carry you farther than any temporary emotion ever could. You will learn to stand firm, not when everything is favorable, but when everything requires you to choose me again quietly, faithfully, without an audience. The day will come when you look back and understand that these difficult hours were not interruptions to the journey, but its very center. You will realize that your faith no longer depends on whether things unfold the way you hoped. It will be anchored in the knowledge that I am faithful in easy days and in dark nights. And when you stand in that place, you will know that what I am building within you cannot be taken away by any upheaval. So, my beloved child, continue to trust me even when your vision grows dim, even when comfort ends, even when your natural mind has no answers left. I am here. I am measuring. I am leading you forward, and the work I have begun in you will not end in confusion, but in deep stability, a stability born of faith that has been tested, refined, and firmly anchored in me. My beloved child, I know very well the weight that is pressing upon your heart. It is not only the things you speak aloud, but also the things you keep in silence because you fear being misunderstood, because you fear disappointing someone, or because even you yourself have not yet found words for them. I know the nights when you lie still, but your heart is restless. I know the mornings when you rise with shoulders already weary, though the day has barely begun. I know you have asked yourself how much longer you can endure, how much farther you can go before exhaustion overtakes you. And I say this to you in complete truth. I know exactly how much you can carry, and I will never allow you to bear more than what I have measured with love. My beloved child, understand this deep truth that life rarely teaches gently. Life does not wait for you to be ready. It does not ask your permission before it changes direction. It does not send advance notice before storms arise. It does not slow its rhythm to match your strength or your comfort. There are moments that arrive without warning, disruptions that appear unannounced, turns that open when you thought you were walking a straight path. This is the nature of life in this world, and if you place your trust in the stability of life itself, you will find yourself continually shaken. But, my child, I am not like that life. I am not capricious. I do not respond late. I do not allow my children to enter trials without preparation beforehand. When I speak to you now, it is not delay, it is care. I speak before that moment arrives because I do not want you to be struck down by the feeling of abandonment or surprise. I want you to remember that the instant it comes, I am already there before you, beside you, and within you. The moment that is approaching has not been sent to crush you. It does not come to destroy, not to prove your weakness, not to take away what I have planted within you. It comes with a deeper purpose to lift you up. But, my child, this lifting does not happen in the way the world understands. It does not lift you by ease. It does not lift you by removing all pain. It lifts you by drawing you to root yourself more deeply in the truth I speak to you today. If you do not anchor yourself in this word, that same moment can become a burden. But if you anchor yourself in me, it will become a launching ground. I know you once thought that trusting me would mean a smoother path. Let me gently realign that understanding in truth and love. You do not trust me because life is stable. Life, by its nature, is not. You trust me because I am steadfast when everything else shifts. When you place your trust in circumstances, that trust trembles with every change. When you place your trust in me, you can stand firm even when circumstances collapse, not because you are strong, but because your foundation is not built on sand. My beloved child, you are not called to trust me because circumstances are predictable. Predictable circumstances only produce temporary reassurance, and that reassurance disappears the moment the unexpected arrives. I invite you to trust me because my will cannot be shaken. People may change their minds. Plans may fall apart. Promises may be withdrawn. But what I have purposed cannot be bent. When you anchor your heart in my will, you are no longer carried away by every piece of news, every word spoken, every sudden event. You begin to live from a deeper axis, the axis of trust, not of reaction. I know the path you are walking is not smooth. I know there are uneven stretches that make your steps ache, turns that frighten you because you cannot see what lies ahead. But, my child, you are not called to trust me because the road is level. You are called to trust me because I walk with you on the uneven ground. My presence does not depend on the terrain. I am not only with you on the mountaintop, I am also with you in the valley. I am not only with you when you feel strong, I am also with you when you are trembling. My beloved child, understand this deeply. The preparation I give you is not meant to spare you from all pain, but to keep pain from defining you. I prepare you by reminding you that I know the burden you carry. I prepare you by letting you know that I have measured what comes to you. I prepare you by being with you in the very moment it happens, not standing at a distance watching. When you know this, you no longer face upheaval as someone powerless. You face it as one who is sheltered. My beloved child, you may not feel stronger when that moment arrives. You may still tremble. Tears may still fall. You may still need to sit down to catch your breath. I do not call that failure. I do not measure your faith by outward calm. I measure your faith by where you turn when everything within you is shaken. If, in that moment, you remember that I am steadfast, if you remember that my will does not waver, if you remember that I am walking beside you, then you are already standing firm, even if you do not yet realize it. I do not speak these things to make you fear what is coming. I speak so that you will not be so overwhelmed that you forget to whom you belong. You are not someone abandoned to fate. You are one whom I lead. And when you trust me in this way, not because life is stable, not because circumstances are predictable, not because the road is smooth, you will discover a peace the world cannot give and cannot take away. My beloved child, anchor yourself in the truth I speak to you today. Let this word remain with you when that moment comes, and you will see that what seemed intent on pressing you down becomes the very place where I lift you up, not to make you proud, but to make you steady, not to display your strength, but to teach you that true strength comes from trusting the one who never wavers. My beloved child, the news that is about to come will be like a mirror held straight up to the deepest place within your heart, not to accuse you, not to shame you, but to reveal where you have placed your trust throughout the journey so far. There were times when you believed you were trusting me, yet deep inside, you were still leaning on your own strength, your endurance, your cleverness, your hard-earned experience gathered over the years. I do not deny that you have tried, that you have persevered, that you have overcome many things by your own effort. But, my child, when that news arrives, whatever you have been relying on will be tested. If you have placed the weight of your life on your own strength, you will feel overwhelmed, not because you are weak, but because human strength was never designed to carry burdens beyond its control. If you have placed your trust in people, you will feel broken not because they intended harm, but because they too are fragile, limited, and sometimes unable to carry the expectations you place upon them. If you have placed your sense of safety in circumstances, fear will arise, because circumstances change faster than you can steady your breath. But if you have placed your trust in me, then no matter how great the shock, no matter how fast your heart races, no matter how much your knees tremble, your spirit will remain standing because it is anchored to the one who never shakes. My beloved child, listen to me carefully, not with your ears, but with the deepest place within you. This moment is not being sent to define your collapse. It does not come to label you a failure, nor to tell a story that you have gone the wrong way or trusted the wrong thing. On the contrary, this moment will define your faith, not the faith you spoke of when everything was calm, but the faith revealed when every familiar layer of protection is stripped away. Faith is not what you declare in the light, it is what you hold onto in the dark. When the noise falls silent, when every prediction crumbles, what remains within you will clearly reveal whom you truly trust. And I am not afraid of that truth, for I am here to uphold you even when the truth makes you tremble. This moment will also not announce the exhaustion of your strength, even if you feel you have reached your limit. My child, what you call having no strength left is often only the end of an old layer of strength, a strength built on willpower, discipline, and physical endurance. When that layer is depleted, you panic, thinking there is nothing left. But I tell you this precisely where you believe you have nothing left to lean on. A deeper source of strength will be awakened. It is not loud, not explosive, but the strength of trust, a quiet, enduring strength that flows from knowing you do not have to carry everything alone. When you stop straining to prove yourself, stop forcing yourself to stand upright by your own power, you will sense another current lifting you. You never knew you had this strength, because you had never allowed yourself to become weak enough for it to appear. My beloved child, do not misunderstand me. I do not diminish your efforts, nor do I belittle the victories you achieved through perseverance. But I am inviting you into another stage of the journey, one where you no longer live by tension, but by mature surrender. This moment will not shatter the story of your life. It will not erase the chapters you have already walked through, nor deny the sweat and tears you have shed. It will redirect that story toward a purpose greater, deeper, and more enduring. There are turns that appear only when you think you have gone far enough on the old road. And it is at that turn that I open a path you never dared to imagine, not to lead you astray, but to draw you into the depth of my intention. My beloved child, look again at what I am revealing to you through these words. If you trust in your own strength, the shock will overwhelm you, because that strength is limited. If you trust in people, their fragility will break you, because they are not an eternal foundation. If you trust in circumstances, their changes will sow fear, because they never stand still. But if you trust in me not as a backup option, but as your only foundation, then, even when you do not understand what is happening, you will still be able to stand. To stand, not because you feel nothing, but because you know you are standing on rock, not on sand. I know you fear that this moment will expose the weaknesses you have always tried to hide. But my child, I am not afraid of your weakness. I am not surprised by your fragility. What matters to me is not whether you tremble, but where you turn when you tremble. If, in that moment, you turn back to me, even with only a whisper, even with a single surrendered breath, you have already won, even if the world calls it failure. For true victory is not never being shaken, but never being swept away. My beloved child, let me say this slowly and deeply, until it reaches your very core. This moment will not define you as one who fell. It will reveal you as one who trusts. It will not declare you depleted. It will awaken within you a resource you have never touched. It will not end the story of your life. It will rewrite its direction along a new axis, the axis of mature faith, of true surrender, of a deeper relationship with me. One day, when you look back, you may be surprised to see that the very moment you once feared most became the turning point of your journey. You will realize that without that disruption, you would still be leaning on things not strong enough to carry you far. You will see that I used that moment not to make you smaller, but deeper, not to make you weaker, but to make your faith steadier, not to lead you off course, but to place you firmly within the flow of my purpose. So, my beloved child, listen to me and anchor your heart in me now. Do not wait for the news to arrive before seeking your footing. Stand in me today. Choose to trust me not because you understand everything, but because you know who I am. Choose to trust me not because everything feels safe, but because I am your safety. When you do this, the moment that is coming, no matter how intense, will not destroy you. It will only make one thing clear, that your faith no longer rests on what can collapse, but is placed in the one who never moves. My beloved child, each time I allow a shock to enter your life, I am not merely opening the door to a trial, I am simultaneously opening a deep passage that leads to supernatural strength you have never touched before. I do not allow sudden waves to come in order to drown you. I allow them to come so that you may be lifted into another level of maturity. There are capacities within your soul that only awaken when the familiar layers of safety are shaken. Without moments of displacement, you would never discover how powerfully you were created when you anchor yourself in me. I want you to understand this clearly. I do not allow pain without purpose. Pain is not the language I use to punish. It is a tool I use to refine. Not all pain is the same. Some pain hardens. Some pain deepens. I do not lead you into meaningless suffering. I lead you into truth. That truth may sometimes take your breath away, but it frees you from illusions that have held you captive for too long. When you realize that I am still there, still holding you in the midst of pain, you will learn to trust more deeply, not because you enjoy what is happening, but because you know I am at work. I also do not allow shock without instruction. Every jolt is a classroom where I teach lessons that calmness could never impart. In moments of upheaval, what is unstable will fall away, and what is true will remain. You will see clearly what once sustained you and what was only a temporary support. You will learn that true peace is not the absence of disturbance, but my presence in the midst of it. And when you learn this, you will no longer fear shaking as you once did, because you will know it does not have the authority to define who you are. I do not allow sudden change without sacred timing. I do not act impulsively. I do not let things happen at random. My timing is woven from love, wisdom, and long-term purpose. There are doors that open only when you are ready to walk through them, not because you understand everything, but because you trust me enough to follow even when the path is not fully visible. When the unexpected happens, you may feel as though you have been placed in a passive position. In truth, you are being invited into a transition I prepared long before. My beloved child, learn this simple yet powerful truth. Life will never promise comfort. It does not guarantee that every day will be gentle, that every plan will unfold smoothly, or that every relationship will remain easy. But I promise guidance. My guidance does not always remove the bends in the road. Sometimes it simply assures you that my hand is holding yours as you walk through those bends. When you allow me to lead, you do not need to know everything in advance. You only need to know that you are not walking alone. Life also does not promise predictability. Variables will arise, and changes will come faster than you can prepare for them. But I promise, my presence, that presence does not depend on favorable or unfavorable circumstances. I am with you on sunny days and in stormy nights, in moments when you feel steady and in hours when you tremble. When you become aware of my presence, you will discover that even the unpredictable is no longer as frightening as before, because you know you are accompanied by the one who sees all things ahead of time. Life does not promise stability either. Foundations you once believed were solid may shake. Things you relied on may change. But I promise my unchanging hand. That hand does not withdraw when you are weak. It does not release you when you lose your way. It does not tremble when the world sways. When you place the weight of your life upon that hand, you will understand what true safety is. Not safety because there is no disturbance, but safety because I am there. My beloved child, every shock I allow is also an invitation. It is not an invitation for you to brace yourself and merely endure, but an invitation to step deeper into relationship with me. I am not seeking loud courage. I am seeking quiet faithfulness. When you choose to trust me in the most confusing moments, you are opening the door for supernatural strength to operate within you, a strength that does not come from flesh, not from willpower, but from living communion between you and me. You may come to realize that, after every shaking, you are no longer the same person. You are deeper, gentler, yet also more grounded. You are less driven by fear, less swept away by immediate reactions, and more sensitive to my whisper. This is not accidental. It is the result of refinement. I am forming within you an inner strength that can carry blessing without arrogance, endure testing without bitterness, and face change without losing yourself. My beloved child, do not measure my love by the ease of the journey. Measure it by my faithfulness at every step. When the shock comes, remember that at the same moment I have opened a door to deeper understanding, to new strength, to clarified purpose. You are not being pushed into chaos. You are being led into a higher order that you cannot yet fully see. So remain with me. Anchor your heart in my promises, not in passing emotions. Trust that, though life does not promise comfort, I promise guidance. Though life does not promise predictability, I promise presence. Though life does not promise stability, I promise my unchanging hand. And as you continue forward with that trust, you will see that shocks are not the end of the story. They are commas, opening a new sentence that is deeper, stronger, and more richly filled with grace for your life. My beloved child, what you are about to hear in the coming hours may press upon you like a weight beyond what an ordinary person feels able to bear. It may cause your heart to momentarily falter, your breathing to grow heavier, your thoughts to sway and lose their footing for an instant. I do not deny this. I do not diminish the reality of what you will feel. But I come to you now to place within you a support deeper than emotion, steadier than instinct, stronger than any shock that lies ahead. When that news arrives, you must speak to your own heart, not with a trembling voice, but with a truth already engraved within you. God has already spoken. God has already strengthened you. God has already prepared you. My beloved child, I know how easily the human heart can be overwhelmed when faced with the unexpected. There are those who collapse inwardly after hearing a single sentence. There are those who lose in a moment the confidence they spent years building, not because they are weaker than you, but because they were never prepared at the deepest level, the level of the Spirit. I do not speak to you merely so you may understand. I speak so you may be anchored. I am planting these words within your spirit, so that when your body reacts in weakness, your spirit will not fall silent, but will rise and speak on your behalf. My child, your body may tremble. Your mind may go briefly blank. Your emotions may surge like crashing waves. This is human nature. But your spirit is not ruled by those reactions. Your spirit was formed to remind you of truth when everything else tries to pull you into panic. So, when that moment comes, you do not need to soothe yourself with empty assurances. You only need to return to what has already been spoken. God has already spoken. This means that nothing you hear today exists outside His Word. No event arrives unseen. No shock exceeds my knowledge or my permission. My beloved child, when you tell your heart that God has strengthened you, you are not claiming that you will feel nothing. You are declaring that your strength no longer rests in temporary sensations. Your strength is not measured by whether you remain perfectly calm. It is measured by whether you are still standing on the right foundation. I strengthened you not by hardening you, but by deepening the roots of your faith. I led you through seasons of silence, through waiting, through believing without seeing all of it was preparation. You are not stepping into this moment as someone untrained. You are stepping into it as one who has been formed in quiet places. My beloved child, understand this deeply. You will not be thrown down, not because the news is light, but because your foundation is firm. You will not collapse, not because you feel no pain, but because you are not alone. You will not be ruled by fear, not because pressure is absent, but because fear no longer holds ultimate authority over you. You will trust, and that trust is not an empty phrase. It is an inner choice made in a moment no one else sees. When you decide to place the full weight of your life upon me, rather than upon what you have just heard, I know you have seen others fall apart when their lives were shaken. I know you have witnessed how a single piece of news can dismantle a person. But my beloved child, you are not like them, not because you are better, but because I spoke to you beforehand. I whispered, reminded, and guided you through lessons you did not fully understand at the time. Now you will see that none of it was accidental. I did not speak early to make you anxious. I spoke early so that when the moment came, you would not be undone by the shock of surprise. My beloved child, let your spirit speak louder than your flesh. When your body responds with weariness, your spirit will rise in strength. When your mind does not know what to think, your spirit will remind you whom to trust. When your emotions try to pull you down, your spirit will hold you upright. I am not asking you to prove anything before others. I am simply inviting you to stand firm before me in truth, in trust, in surrender. My beloved child, I am not saying you will immediately understand why this is happening. I am not promising that every question will be answered at once. But I promise you something greater. You will not be crushed by what you do not yet understand. I prepared you not to avoid the trial, but to pass through it with a new identity, the identity of one who knows they are being held. When you remember these words in that critical moment, you will realize that this very remembering is what keeps you standing. Speak to your heart, even if only in silence. God already knows. God has already prepared. God is here. These words do not erase emotion, but they place emotion in its proper place. They do not deny reality, but they establish who governs reality. And when that order is restored within you, You will find that what once seemed too heavy no longer crushes you. My beloved child, there are moments in life that do not come to destroy, but to reveal who you have become. The moment approaching you is one of those. It will not expose your weakness to shame you. It will reveal your faith to strengthen you. When you pass through it, you will not merely say that you survived. You will know that you were upheld, and you will understand this more deeply. I did not only speak to you before the shaking, I am with you within the shaking itself. My beloved child, there are things in life that cannot remain hidden forever, cannot be postponed indefinitely, and cannot be avoided without end. They must be heard. They must be spoken. They must be unveiled at the appointed time, because they are not merely information. They are turning points that shape the direction of your destiny. I know you once wished that everything could unfold more gently, that truth might arrive in softer words, that reality could adjust itself without unsettling you. But, my child, light does not always enter as a peaceful dawn. Sometimes it comes like lightning, tearing through a familiar sky so that you can finally see what had long been concealed. Not every piece of shocking news carries danger. You have learned to fear the unexpected, because human nature often equates upheaval with loss. But I want you to learn to discern more deeply. There are disturbances that destroy, and there are disturbances that liberate. There are things that break in order to take away, and there are things that break in order to return you to yourself. When what you are about to hear reaches you, your first instinct may be to shrink back, to defend yourself, to label it a tragedy so you can brace yourself to endure it. But I say to you, do not rush to conclude the meaning of this moment before I have finished my work within it. Sometimes, shocking news is the very beginning of truth being revealed. Truth does not always arrive as a pleasant companion. It comes to realign your path, to name what has long been avoided, to place you face to face with realities you can no longer ignore. I know you have tried to live uprightly, to pray, to trust, yet there are depths within you that you would never reach without a shaking. Truth does not come to make you smaller, it comes to make you freer, even if the price is temporary confusion. Sometimes, shocking news is the dismantling of false foundations. There are foundations you did not consciously build. They formed gradually over the years, assumptions, compromises, things you accepted because they made you feel safe. You may have built your life upon human promises, outward appearances, or a stability that only seemed secure. I do not blame you for this. You did what you knew how to do in order to survive. But, my child, false foundations cannot carry you far. I do not remove them to leave you empty. I remove them to set you upon a stronger rock. What you fear as collapse is sometimes the very rescue you have not yet recognized. Sometimes, shocking news is the exposure of something you could not see by your own strength. Some truths remain hidden not because you are blind, but because you are too close. You have lived inside a familiar picture for so long that you no longer noticed the small cracks quietly spreading. I do not expose these things to shame you. I expose them to protect you from continuing down a path that is no longer healthy. Light does not only illuminate what is beautiful, it also reaches into dark corners so that you will no longer stumble there. And when light arrives suddenly, it may blind you for a moment, but then you will see more clearly than ever before. Sometimes, shocking news is an announcement ushering you into a new chapter of your life. I know you fear new chapters, because they require you to leave what is familiar, even when what is familiar no longer nourishes you. But, my child, a new chapter does not always begin with joy. Often, it begins with an ending. And an ending is not a failure, it is a doorway. That doorway may open with loud noise, with a sense of imbalance, with questions that have no immediate answers. Yet on the other side lies space for what I am preparing, a life that is more honest, deeper, and more aligned with the true identity I placed within you, my beloved child. Do not rush to label this moment a tragedy before it becomes a testimony. Tragedy is the name people give to what they do not yet understand. Testimony is the name I give to what I have completed. You are in the middle of a process, not at the end. What you see today is only a fragment, not the entire picture. If you conclude too soon, you will carry unnecessary fear. If you remain patiently with me, you will watch meaning unfold little by little. I know you are trying to stand firm, trying not to collapse under the weight of what is about to be revealed. But I do not require you to understand everything at once, nor do I demand strength by the world's standards. I ask only one thing: remain in trust. Remaining is not passive, it is the courageous act of choosing not to flee. Remain with me when you do not understand, when you are trembling, when you do not yet know how to name what you are facing. It is in this remaining that I will transform what seems threatening into something that gives direction. My beloved child, remember this: I do not reveal anything without the intention to heal. I do not open anything without a plan to guide you through it. I do not allow truth to surface only to abandon you alone with it. When unveiling takes place, that is when I am nearer to you than ever to hold you, to lead you, to remind you that you have not slipped from my hand. What is coming is not beyond my control, it is only beyond your present understanding. And that is not as frightening as it seems. When you remember that I am the one who goes before you in every moment, one day, when you look back, you may realize that the moment you most wanted to avoid was the very moment that saved you from a misguided path. You will see that without that shocking news, you would have continued building on what was not real, trusting what was not strong enough, remaining in a form of life that no longer fit who you truly are. And you will be grateful not because it was comfortable, but because it was true. So, my beloved child, do not let fear name this moment. Let me name it. Do not call it tragedy when I am calling it transition. Do not call it loss when I am calling it release. Do not call it collapse when I am calling it reformation. Slow your steps. Take a deep breath and remain with me here. The truth that is unfolding does not come to destroy you. It comes to lead you back onto the right path. My beloved child, what is being unveiled today will shape who you become tomorrow. And if you choose to trust me through this process, you will not merely pass through a moment of upheaval, you will enter a new chapter, where your life is no longer built on what can collapse, but is established upon the foundation of truth, grace, and the purpose I set for you from the very beginning. My beloved child, there are moments in life when your eyes see only a blow, your ears hear only the crash, and your heart feels nothing but a violent jolt. You think it is the end, a failure, something beyond repair. But I want you to look deeper beyond the surface of immediate emotion. Many times, what seems like the heaviest strike is, in fact, the greatest turning point of the journey. What appears to be a total collapse is quietly becoming the foundation for a new, rising, steadier, humbler, and more real. And what stands before you as a threat is often the very door that leads you out of a place of confinement where you have lived for far too long. I know you fear the dizziness. I know that fear does not come only from pain, but from the feeling of losing control. You have learned to live by refined control, controlling your rhythm of life, controlling your emotions, controlling how others see you, controlling the future through careful plans. That control once helped you survive. I do not deny that. But, my child, what helps you survive is not always what allows you to live fully. There are seasons when control itself, no matter how skillfully managed, becomes an invisible cage, keeping you within the limits of your own making. Hear me clearly, your true strength does not lie in control. Your true strength lies in surrender. Surrender is not giving up, not defeat, not abandoning yourself to fate. Surrender is the courageous act of placing the weight of your life into my hands when your own hands are weary from holding on for too long. When your control comes to an end, my reign begins to be revealed with clarity, not because I wait for you to fail before I act, but because when you stop intervening out of fear, I have space to lead you with eternal wisdom. My beloved child, there are doors that will never open with the key of reason. They open only when you release your grip on the old handle. There are lands you cannot enter by your own strength, because your own strength was designed for a shorter journey. When your mind reaches the point of helplessness, when every calculation fails, when every scenario collapses, that is not a sign you have gone the wrong way. It is a sign you have gone far enough to step into another level, right where your mind falls silent because there are no answers left. My wisdom begins to shine, not loudly, not with display, but surely and with direction. When your emotions are shaken, you often think you are becoming weak. But, my child, emotional upheaval is not the same as collapse. It is a sign that you are still alive, still able to feel, still open. And it is precisely in that trembling that my comfort becomes clearer than ever. I do not comfort you by denying your pain. I comfort you through my presence. That presence does not push your emotions away, it stays with you in them, reminding you that you are not alone. When you stop pretending to be fine, you will discover that I was already there, waiting for you to allow me to uphold you. My beloved child, what you are facing is not a random accident. It is a transition, and every transition carries a sense of lost balance. You cannot move from one shore to another without a moment in between where neither foot is touching the ground. That moment is frightening, but it does not last forever. It exists just long enough for you to learn one essential truth: you are not held by the ground beneath your feet, but by the hand that holds you. When you understand this, you will no longer fear moments of imbalance, because you will know you are not falling into emptiness. Beloved child, allow me to lead you deeper, still, not deeper into pain, but deeper into truth, not deeper into confusion, but deeper into trust. What I have begun to speak to you is only the foundation. I have not finished my work in you. What is happening is not meant to steal what is good. It is meant to make room for what is real. Some things must be lost so you no longer cling to them as your source of life. Some things must collapse so you no longer build your life on foundations that are not strong enough. My beloved child, remember the times you once believed you could not endure, those moments when you thought everything was over. You are here now, not because you were strong at enduring, but because I led you through each one. And each time, you did not merely survive, you were transformed. You became deeper, less illusory, and closer to me. This time is no different. What you call a blow, I call a redirection. What you call loss, I call release. What you call collapse, I call rebuilding. Stop measuring this journey by immediate feeling. Feelings come and go. Measure it by direction. If after each shaking you find yourself relying less on your own strength and drawing closer to me, you are on the right path. If, after each moment of dizziness, you become softer, humbler, and more attentive, then you are being led well. I did not create you to live in rigid control. I created you to live in a living relationship of trust with me. My beloved child, the surrender I invite you into does not take away your dignity, it restores it. For when you stop trying to be the God of your own life, you finally live rightly as a beloved child. And in that place, you do not need to know everything, carry everything, or hold everything together. You only need to remain, to trust, and to take each step in the light I give you for today. Beloved child, do not fear the blow. Do not fear the outward collapse. Do not fear the loss of control. Fear only missing what I am doing through all of it. Let me lead you deeper, deeper into truth, deeper into freedom, deeper into a strength not born of the flesh. And when you look back, you will no longer call this moment a crisis. You will call it a beginning, the place where you stop trying to hold your life with weary hands and began to be held by my hand, which never trembles. Beloved child, I am calling you into a way of living that you were never fully taught before, a state of spiritual watchfulness. This is not nervous tension, not a posture of holding your breath while waiting for danger, and certainly not anxiety disguised as righteousness. Spiritual watchfulness is something entirely different. It is a sacred awareness, a quiet and deep knowing that you are being guarded by the one who never loses focus, never looks away, and never grows weary. I am not calling you to live in fear. I am calling you to live in the light. You need to understand why I am emphasizing this to you now. It is because I see what you do not yet see. I hear what has not yet reached your ears. I know the movements that are silently unfolding beneath the calm surface you are observing. I do not say this to unsettle you, but to preserve you. When you know that the one who watches over you neither slumbers nor sleeps, you no longer need to become a frantic gatekeeper yourself. Yet at the same time, because I am always awake, you are invited to learn how to keep your own spirit from falling into slumber. Beloved child, the world around you moves at a pace the human mind struggles to keep up with. The currents of life shift without warning. What is calm today can turn in an instant. What seems firm can shake without asking permission. What appears enduring can collapse at the very moment you believe it is secure. And what looks harmless, a word, a relationship, an opportunity, can suddenly reveal its true nature. This is not a pessimistic prediction. It is the reality of a world that was never built on eternal stability. And precisely because life does not issue warnings, I give you one. Not so that you become guarded against people, but so that you may discern. Not so that you shrink back, but so that you stand upright. Not so that you doubt everything, but so that you recognize what comes from me and what does not. Life does not knock before it changes direction. It does not announce when the wind shifts. But I am different. I never allow you to enter a season of transition without light to guide your steps. Because life does not prepare you. I prepare you. I do not do this by revealing everything that is about to happen, but by deepening your spiritual roots. I teach you to listen inwardly, to recognize subtle stirrings you once overlooked. I teach you to distinguish between false ease and true peace. I teach you not to fall asleep in familiarity, for there are moments when familiarity itself becomes the most dangerous lullaby. Beloved child, spiritual watchfulness does not make you rigid. On the contrary, it makes you gentle, yet steadfast. It does not steal your joy. It protects your joy from being taken. It does not distance you from life. It enables you to walk through life without being swallowed by it. When your spirit is awake, you do not react in panic. You respond with wisdom. You are not swept along by the crowd. You walk according to guidance. I want you to understand this deeply. Watchfulness is not about constantly anticipating evil, but about being continually aware of my presence. When you know that I am here, seeing, guiding, and holding you, do not lose your rhythm when circumstances shift. But when you forget this, you are easily lulled into sleep. Sleep in false security. Sleep in habit. Sleep in the thought that everything is fine. And it is in such moments that you are most vulnerable to being caught off guard. Because life cannot protect you. I protect you, not by enclosing you in a bubble untouched by pain, but by being with you in every moment. I protect you with light that helps you see before you stumble, that helps you pause before you step wrongly, that helps you let go before something wounds you more deeply. I protect you with truth, even when that truth is not immediately comfortable. For truth rescues you, while illusion only delays you. Beloved child, some believe that living watchfully means living in tension. But I tell you, this living asleep is what truly exhausts you. When you are not watchful, you are constantly repairing damage after the fact. When you are unaware, you endure unnecessary shocks. When you do not listen, you pay with deeper wounds. Spiritual watchfulness slows you down on the inside, even when the world outside is racing ahead. I am calling you to learn how to see with your spirit, not only with your eyes. There are things that look acceptable in form, but are not right for your soul. There are words that sound reasonable yet carry no life. There are doors that open attractively but are not the path I have set for you. When you are watchful, you do not need to try everything in order to learn. You learn through awareness, not through injury. Beloved child, I am not calling you to fear tomorrow. I am calling you to be present today. Watchfulness is not about staring anxiously into the future. It is about being fully present with me in the now. When you are fully present, you will notice small signals, gentle nudges, quiet unease, soft reminders, and it is precisely these small things that will spare you from greater consequences. Beloved child, the world will continue to change. The currents will continue to shift. What you once believed was fixed may no longer remain the same. But I do not change. I am still watching. I am still seeing. I am still leading. And because I do not fall asleep, you do not need to live in panic, but you must not live in slumber either. Keep your spirit awake, not because you fear loss, but because you cherish life. Not because you distrust the world, but because you trust me. When you live in a state of spiritual watchfulness, you will not be passive in the face of change. You will not panic at surprises. You will not collapse when truth is revealed. For you know that you are being kept by the one who never takes his eyes off you. And then, beloved child, you will understand watchfulness does not steal your peace, it guards your peace. Watchfulness does not weary you, it saves you from unnecessary depletion. Watchfulness does not distance you from me, it brings you closer than ever before. And that is the safest place you can be, in the midst of a world that never promises stability. While I always promise to be with you to the very end, my beloved child, when I call you to be watchful, it does not come from a fear that danger has power over you. I do not warn you because I am weak, nor do I awaken you because I am afraid. I call you to be watchful because I am training you to trust me more deeply, to grow more mature, more grounded, in a world where many rely only on their limited understanding and call that safety. I am preparing you to live not merely by what you can see, but by what I know, my beloved child. If your eyes are open only to the visible world, you will miss the most important part of reality. What you see with your natural eyes is only the surface. Major decisions, deep shifts, and destiny-shaping collisions rarely begin with noise. They are conceived in the unseen realm, where motives are formed, where intentions are gestated, where quiet currents begin to move. If you trust only what your eyes can see, you will always be reacting after the fact. But when you learn spiritual watchfulness, you will recognize that many things are announced in advance through very subtle signals, a gentle unease, a quiet restlessness, an unexplainable prompting. These do not come from anxiety, they come from guidance. And if your ears listen only to human voices, you will not hear the whispers I send to you. People speak constantly. Opinions resound everywhere. Arguments are layered thickly. And if you are not watchful, you will confuse the crowd with truth, confidence with wisdom, noise with direction. I do not always speak in thunder. Very often, I speak in gentleness, a verse of scripture suddenly echoing in your heart, an old memory stirred, a small reminder that arrives at precisely the right moment. If the ears of your heart are filled with external noise, you will not hear these things, and you will walk without a guiding light. And if your heart becomes hardened because it has grown accustomed to pressure, because it has endured for too long, because it has been disappointed too many times, then what was meant to guide you will pass by unnoticed. I am not afraid of your tenderness. I am concerned only when your heart closes. A hardened heart may look strong, but it is easily led astray. When your heart no longer responds, you will no longer discern what is a warning and what is an invitation. You will keep moving by habit, not by guidance, and that is where the real danger lies. This is why I stir you, not to break you, but to awaken you. At times, I allow a restlessness to enter your spirit, a restlessness that does not come from fear, but from light shining into places you have not yet seen. I awaken you not because you are wrong in this moment, but because if you continue without watchfulness, you could go astray in the future. I act early, because I love you enough not to wait for consequences to appear. I do not stir you to torment you. I do not delight in seeing you weary or tense. But I know that spiritual sleep is more dangerous than temporary fatigue. I would rather allow you to feel unsettled for a season than let you walk calmly into a path that leads to deep harm. The unrest I permit is not meant to steal your peace, it is meant to protect your true peace. Nor do I stir you to confuse you. On the contrary, I stir you to realign you. People often adjust only after collision. When everything feels smooth, it is easy to keep moving on momentum. But when I gently touch your spirit, causing you to pause, to reflect, to pray, to listen, that is when you are reoriented. I am not pulling you off your path. I am adjusting your angle so you do not drift far from the original purpose I placed within you. I do not awaken you to weaken you. I awaken you to refine you. A sword is not sharpened in the midst of use, but through intentional friction. Your spirit is the same. If you live only in a state of drifting, you will lack the sharpness needed to discern, to choose, to stand firm when required. Watchfulness makes you keen, not overly sensitive, but keen to truth. It helps you recognize what must be avoided before it becomes a snare, and what must be released before it becomes a chain. My beloved child, you must understand this. Deeply watchfulness is not a burden. The world believes watchfulness means tension, constant vigilance, a life of worry. But spiritual watchfulness is entirely different. It does not rob you of sleep. It keeps your soul from sleeping. It does not make you fearful. It keeps you safe. It does not exhaust you. It spares you from unnecessary exhaustion. Watchfulness keeps you safe not because you know everything, but because you know where to return when the unknown appears. Watchfulness keeps you steady not because you control every change, but because you are not so surprised that you lose yourself. Watchfulness prevents you from unknowingly stepping into destruction, not with loud warnings, but with quiet signals that help you stop in time. My beloved child, I am training you to live differently, not as one who panics before the world, nor as one who sleeps through upheaval. I am calling you to live as one who is watchful, yet at rest, aware yet unafraid, alert yet open-hearted. This is the posture of one who knows they are being guarded. Remember this deeply. I do not call you to be watchful because I fear losing you. I call you to be watchful because I want to keep you. I see the road ahead. I know the intersections you will encounter, and I want you to step into that future not by chance, but by guidance. So, my beloved child, when you sense your spirit being awakened, do not resist it. Do not assume something is wrong. Pause, listen, and ask me, I do not stir you without reason. I do not refine you in vain. Each time I awaken you, it is because I am very near, guiding very closely, and guarding very carefully. Watchfulness does not take your peace away. It preserves your peace. It does not make you weaker. It positions you rightly as a child who is loved, guided, and protected. And as you learn to value this watchfulness, you will realize that it has saved you many times from poor decisions, from hidden dangers, from paths that seemed harmless yet led to harm. My beloved child, remain in this spiritual watchfulness, not to fear the world, but to walk steadily within it, not to strain yourself, but to be kept, not to worry, but to live in my light. For when you are watchful, you are not alone. You are walking with the one who never takes his eyes off you. My beloved child, the watchfulness I am cultivating within your spirit is not an outward defensive skill, but a living capacity forged through deep communion between you and me. When you live in a state of watchfulness, you do not merely perceive with the intellect. You sense with the soul a subtle yet certain awareness. Like a sailor who knows the wind has shifted before the sea has time to stir, watchfulness enables you to recognize when the atmosphere around you begins to change. Even while the surface remains calm, you may enter a room filled with laughter, yet feel a heaviness within. You may join a conversation that seems friendly, yet your soul senses a lack of life. This is not imagination. It is a signal. And that signal is not given to make you suspicious of people, but to help you adjust your pace, to know when to stay, when to remain silent, and when to withdraw in peace. My beloved child, some changes arrive without noise, without alarms, without signs visible to the natural eye. They come like a thin breeze, just enough to stir the curtain. Those who live in haste will not notice. Those who are asleep will assume everything is the same. But those who are watchful will sense that the climate has shifted. Watchfulness does not make you fearful of every movement. It helps you move one step ahead, not to avoid life, but to enter life with wisdom. When the atmosphere changes, I do not want you merely to endure it and move on. I want you to listen, to discern, and to choose a response that aligns with the life I give. Watchfulness also enables you to discern the intentions of those whose words are sweet, but whose hearts have grown defiled. My child, words can be polished, smiles can be practiced, kindness can be performed, but intention cannot remain hidden forever. It leaks through the eyes, through inconsistency, through the way people react when they are not satisfied. I do not want you to become suspicious or closed off. I want you to be clear-sighted. Some draw near not to walk with you, but to exploit, not to support, but to manipulate, not to love, but to consume your attention, your energy, or your trust. If you listen only with your ears, you may be persuaded, but if you listen with your spirit, you will recognize what does not align. My beloved child, I am not asking you to confront, nor do I require you to expose. Often, the wisest response is to maintain distance in peace. Watchfulness gives you the right to choose, not from fear, but from truth. You do not need to explain excessively or prove yourself right. When you recognize impure intention, simply adjust your direction. As a traveler changes course upon seeing that the road ahead has collapsed, I protect you, not through noise, but through quiet guidance. Watchfulness also allows you to sense when the enemy is moving in silence. The enemy rarely appears with open violence. He prefers whispering to shouting, planting doubt rather than provoking obvious fear. He works in the shadows of the mind, placing small but toxic questions, inflating old wounds, distorting my words. He does not need to make you fall all at once. A slight deviation is enough. Without watchfulness, you may assume these thoughts are your own. But when you live close to me, you will discern the voice of life from the voice of destruction. My beloved child, I am not calling you to hunt the enemy. I am calling you to remain in the light. For when the light is turned on, darkness has nowhere to hide. Watchfulness does not fixate you on evil. It anchors you to what is good. When you keep your heart tender, when you nurture communion with me, when you listen to gentle promptings, you will recognize very early the movements that do not come from me. And when you recognize them early, you do not need to fight fiercely. You simply take another path. Watchfulness helps you walk ahead of the trap rather than fall into it. Traps are rarely presented as something ugly. They are often disguised as opportunity, as quick promises, as the feeling of being recognized, as a shortcut that seems reasonable. If you look only through ambition or fear, you will rush forward. But if you are watchful, you will pause at the right moment to ask, where does this lead me? What does it nourish within me? Faith or ego? Does it draw me closer to me or farther away? These questions do not slow you down. They rescue you from spirals that take years to escape. My beloved child, I know you do not enjoy the feeling of being guarded. You want to trust, to open your heart, to live simply. I honor that heart. But understand this: watchfulness is not opposed to simplicity. It protects simplicity. It keeps you from being used, from being pulled into things that burden your spirit. It allows you to love without being naive, to trust without being blind, to remain open without losing boundaries. When you are watchful, you do not close your heart. You simply place a gatekeeper. I am teaching you a different way of living, not a life of tension, but of holy sensitivity. Sensitivity to recognize when something no longer fits. Sensitivity to know when to say no without guilt. Sensitivity to listen before acting. Watchfulness enables you to move ahead of danger, not because you see everything, but because you walk with me, the one who sees everything. You do not need to guess. You need to stay close. My beloved child, remember that watchfulness does not exhaust you. It preserves your strength. For without watchfulness, you pay the price through falls, toxic relationships, and choices that drain you. With watchfulness, many painful cycles are avoided. You may walk a little more slowly, but you will go much farther. You do not chase every invitation, but you arrive where I call you. I do not demand perfection in your discernment. I only invite you to remain in relationship. As you remain, watchfulness will grow naturally without strain, without pressure. You will discover that some days I awaken you earlier, not to cause anxiety, but to prepare you. At times I unsettle you, not to disturb you, but to redirect you. At moments I prompt you to stop, not because you are weak, but because you are loved. Beloved child, cherish watchfulness as a blessing. It is a small lamp that lights your steps in the night. It is a faithful companion that whispers pause when you are about to move too quickly. It is a gentle barrier that keeps you from unknowingly falling into a ravine. Watchfulness does not steal your joy. It keeps your joy pure. It does not remove freedom. It keeps freedom safe. It does not pull you away from life. It teaches you how to live rightly within it. Therefore, my beloved child, continue to nurture watchfulness through prayer, through listening, through obedience to small promptings. As you do, you will find yourself stepping ahead of traps, discerning hidden intentions, sensing the quiet movements of the enemy, and adjusting your pace before danger can even call your name, not because you are wiser than others, but because you walk with me. And when you walk with me, light goes before you, peace surrounds you, and your path, though set within a world full of snares, will be guarded in grace and in life. My beloved child, do you know why some people stumble so easily? It is not because they lack intelligence, nor because they are short on experience. Many fall simply because they only prepare when danger is already standing at the door. When everything is calm, they relax. When the first signs appear, they hesitate. And when the wave finally crashes, they rush to look for support. But by then, their footing has already slipped. Their vision has blurred, and their strength has been drained. I do not blame them, for this is a natural human response. Yet, I am teaching you a different way, a way of preparing beforehand, of standing firm before the storm takes shape, of discerning before deception has a chance to touch your soul. My beloved child, you are living in a time when everything moves very fast, faster than anything previous generations ever experienced. Decisions are made in an instant. Disruptions appear without warning. Relationships form and dissolve within just a few interactions. Change arrives before you have time to adjust. Spiritual attacks are no longer loud or obvious. They are subtle, quiet, slipping into thoughts and emotions. And at the same time, sacred assignments are being placed, assignments that require sensitivity, obedience, and courage. All of this unfolds at a pace the natural mind cannot fully grasp, no matter how hard it tries. That is why I am not calling you merely to be quick in your thinking. I am calling you into a higher awareness. It is not your mind that must stay awake. Your mind can grow tired, overloaded, and misdirected. I am speaking of your spirit. Your spirit, when connected to me, can remain alert even while the world sleeps. When people rush with frantic momentum, an awakened spirit will keep you moving in the rhythm of life. When noise surrounds you, an awakened spirit will help you hear what truly matters. When others react in panic, an awakened spirit will hold you steady so you can choose with wisdom. My beloved child, I am teaching you to prepare before danger rises, not so that you live in fear, but so that you live in proactive peace. Preparation is not about building walls of suspicion. It is about laying a firm foundation. When the foundation is secure, you do not need to run in all directions when the wind shifts. You simply stand still and let the wind pass. I teach you to stand firm before the storm forms. Because once the storm arrives, learning how to stand becomes far more difficult. I teach you to discern before deception touches you. Because once deception enters, it will present itself as truth and demand your agreement. My beloved child, deception rarely comes in frightening form. It arrives wrapped in reasonable promises, appealing shortcuts, and explanations that sound convincing. If you rely only on your mind to analyze, everything may appear acceptable. But if your spirit is awake, you will sense that something is off, a slight misalignment, a gap where life is missing, a quiet unrest you cannot fully name. I do not give you these signals to make you suspicious of everything. I give them so you can adjust your course before a price must be paid. My beloved child, many people only learn discernment after they have been deeply wounded. They say they have learned their lesson, but that lesson comes with scars. I do not want you to learn every lesson through pain. I want you to learn through awareness. Awareness does not need to shout, it only needs to whisper. Stop, wait, or take a different path. And if you listen early, you will avoid many unnecessary cycles. I am calling you into a different rhythm of life, not slow, but deep, not rushed, but precise. When everything moves quickly, those who are not awake will react with the crowd. But those with a clear spirit will know when not to react, when to remain silent, and when to wait for my confirmation. You do not need to have an opinion about everything, nor chase every opportunity. Wisdom is not found in grasping everything, but in choosing what truly matters. My beloved child, your mind has limits. I designed it that way. It needs rest, time to process, and quiet to function well. But your spirit, when joined to me, is not limited by physical exhaustion. Even when you are weary, an awakened spirit can remind you of truth. Even when your thoughts are tangled, an awakened spirit can keep you from making impulsive decisions. This is not a miracle, it is the fruit of relationship. When you stay close to me, alertness flows not from effort, but from communion. My beloved child, I am not calling you to live in constant tension. I am calling you to live in holy readiness. Readiness is not expecting the worst. Readiness is knowing to whom you belong. When you know you belong to me, you do not panic at rapid changes. You are not defenseless against spiritual attacks. Because you do not walk alone, you do not lose direction amid sacred assignments. Because you have learned to listen before you move. My beloved child, I am training you for greater things, not great by worldly standards, but great according to the purpose I have set. And such things require awareness at a deeper level. I do not want you to react only after the storm has risen. I want you to read the sky while the clouds are still far away. I do not want you to stand firm only when the wind is strong. I want you to already be standing in the right place. I do not want you to discern only after deception has reached you. I want you to recognize its scent from a distance. My beloved child, understand this. The higher awareness I am inviting you into does not remove you from life. It helps you live rightly within it. You will still work, still love, still engage fully. But you will do all these things with an inner compass, a compass calibrated by my presence. When that compass is active, you will not be swept away by the world's speed. You will move quickly when needed, slow down when appropriate, and stop when I tell you to. Finally, my beloved child, remember this and hold it deep within your heart. I do not teach you to stay awake so that you strain to survive. I teach you to stay awake because I want to keep you. I know the road ahead has sharp turns, crowded intersections, and sudden shifts of wind, and I want you to walk not by chance, but by guidance. Your mind may grow tired, but your spirit, when firmly joined to me, will remain alert. And in that alertness, you will find that no matter how fast the world spins, you are held steady, guided, and kept safe in the hands that never let go. My beloved child, I want you to engrave this truth deeply into your soul. I am always sovereign, not sometimes. Not only when everything is calm and favorable, but always, even when chaos roars like crashing waves, when the ground beneath your feet trembles, when people change so quickly that you can no longer recognize them, and when circumstances shift so abruptly that you lose your sense of direction. There are moments when you look around and nothing feels familiar anymore, when the pillars that once supported you seem to waver, and the things you trusted suddenly feel fragile. In those moments, I do not step down from my throne, and I do not step away from you. You may not understand my ways. You may not be able to explain why I allow certain things to happen, or why I lead you through uneven and unexpected turns. I do not require you to understand everything, but I do invite you to trust my sovereignty. Trust is not closing your eyes to reality. Trust is facing reality head-on and still choosing to believe that I am at work, even when you cannot yet see the outcome. When you place your confidence in my sovereignty, you no longer need to strain yourself trying to control every detail, because you know that a greater hand is holding all things together. When I call you to be watchful, it is not because the world has power over you. The world is not your master. Circumstances are not your king, and instability is not your destiny. I call you to be watchful so that the world does not distract you, so that it does not pull your gaze away from what I am doing. There are times when the greatest danger is not a direct attack, but a subtle distraction. When you are drawn into noise, arguments, and anxiety, you may miss the important steps I am placing right in front of you. My beloved, listen to me slowly, so that you can truly feel this. Many people are alert to danger, but very few are alert to my movement. People become cautious when they sense a threat. They react quickly when there is a risk of loss. But when I move gently, when I quietly arrange things, when I open a new path through small and subtle signs, very few recognize it. They are so busy managing their fear that they lose sensitivity to my guidance. They stare into the darkness and forget that light is already illuminating the way. Many people recognize the schemes of the enemy, but few recognize the guidance of the Holy Spirit. The enemy enjoys noise, enjoys stirring fear, enjoys pushing you into rushed reactions. The Holy Spirit, however, often leads through deep peace, through gentle promptings, through quiet conviction that does not need to shout. If you focus only on detecting the enemy's schemes, you will live in a constant state of defense. But if you learn to listen to the Holy Spirit, you will live in a state of being led, not threatened. My beloved child, many people hear the noise of the world, but very few hear the whisper of God. Noise is easy to hear. It is loud, relentless, and it invades your mind from morning to night. It tells you to move faster, be stronger, worry more. My whisper does not compete in volume. It waits patiently. If you do not learn to quiet your heart, you will miss those whispers, words that can change the entire direction of your life. My beloved, I do not invite you to be watchful so that you become tense. I invite you to be watchful so that you become discerning. Discernment is not living in exhausting vigilance. It is living in deep connection with me. When you are discerning, you will recognize when I am closing a door to protect you, and when I am opening a door to lead you into something new. When you are discerning, you will know when to move forward, when to wait, and when to release something that once seemed important but is no longer aligned with your calling. I know there are times when you feel confused by the movements around you. You see changes in people, in environments, and within your own heart. You wonder what is really happening. My child, not every movement is a threat. Some movements are signs that I am rearranging, clearing the way, and placing the pieces where they belong. But if you are not watchful, you will interpret every change through fear instead of trust. My beloved child, remember this: my sovereignty is not shaken by chaos. Chaos does not confuse me, and human instability does not cause me to lose direction. I see the whole picture, while you see only a fragment. I know the ending, while you are still in the middle of the process. That is why I call you to remain watchful, so you do not lose long-term vision because of short-term upheaval. The watchfulness I give you helps you discern what deserves your attention and what should be ignored. Not every voice requires your response. Not every debate deserves your involvement. Not every opportunity comes from me. When you are watchful, you will not be pulled into things that do not belong to your assignment. You will conserve your strength for what truly matters, what I am doing in you and through you. My beloved, I do not want you merely to become someone who avoids danger. I want you to become someone who walks in my will. Avoiding danger only keeps you from harm. Walking in my will leads you into abundant life. And to walk this way, you must be watchful, not only of darkness, but of the light that is moving. You must learn to recognize when I am changing the direction of the wind, when I am inviting you into a new season, when I am asking you to trust me at a deeper level. My beloved child, let my whisper become more familiar to you than the noise of the world. Let the guidance of the Holy Spirit become clearer than your anxieties. Let my sovereignty become the foundation of every decision you make. When you do this, you will not be swept away by chaos. You will not lose direction in change, and you will not be robbed by distraction. Finally, my beloved child, understand this: watchfulness does not distance you from me, it draws you closer. When you are watchful, you do not merely avoid mistakes, you recognize my presence in every step. You do not only hear warnings, you hear invitations. You do not only see danger, you see divine opportunities opening before you. And in all these things, you will learn to live with a deep, unshakable peace, the peace of one who knows that no matter how the world may change, the one who reigns sovereign is still guiding every step you take. My beloved child, do you think the enemy comes with thunder and crashing noise? No, he does not need to be loud, because noise is easily recognized. He comes in silence so quiet that you mistake his voice for your own thoughts. He does not force the door open, he knocks softly. He does not break things apart, he wears them down. He does not take everything at once, he trades, exchanging very small things, very reasonable things, it's fine things, until one day you realize you have drifted far from where I placed you, without remembering exactly when it began. That is how he works: subtle, patient, never in a hurry. He comes through small compromises, tiny retreats that seem harmless. One time you loosen a boundary because you are tired. One time you stay silent when you should speak because you want to avoid trouble. One time you accept what is not right because everyone does it. Each compromise on its own seems insignificant. But a chain of compromises always has a direction, and that direction, if left unchecked, will carry you to a place you never intended to go. He does not need you to fall immediately, he only needs you to shift. A slight shift today, another tomorrow, enough for my light in you to dim. Enough for my voice to begin to sound unfamiliar. He also comes through whispers of doubt, not loud doubt, but gentle questions. Did I really say that? Are you being too strict? Are you missing out on something? These questions sound reasonable, even intelligent. But my child, some questions are not meant to seek truth, they are meant to erode trust. When doubt slips in, it does not destroy at once, it slows obedience, weakens resolve, and makes you hesitate at the very moment you need to stand firm. And if you hesitate long enough, you will choose the easier path instead of the right one. He comes, too, through people whose motives are hidden. Not everyone who smiles comes to bless you. Not every compliment is innocent. Not every piece of advice carries life. Some draw close and speak beautifully, but beneath their words lie control, exploitation, or a desire to pull you into their orbit. If your spirit is asleep, you will listen only with your ears and see only with your eyes. But if your spirit is awake, you will sense that something is off, a misalignment, a heaviness, a lack of peace that reason cannot fully explain. And this is important, my beloved. If your spirit is asleep, you will not see him approaching. You will assume everything is fine because the surface has not cracked. You will believe you are wise enough to handle it when the time comes. But by the time you realize, the cords are already tight. The choices have narrowed the way forward, and relationships have knotted into restraints. I do not say this to frighten you. I say it to awaken you. For when your spirit is awake, even his smallest movements become clear, like a strange draft in a sealed room, like an offbeat note in a familiar song. That is why I call you to live in watchfulness, not so you become suspicious, but so you become wholly sensitive, not so you live tense, but so you stay ahead. I call you to stay ahead, not to be left behind, ahead in discernment, ahead in obedience, ahead in recognizing what must stop and what must move forward. Going ahead is not about moving faster. Going ahead is about moving rightly. I call you to watchfulness to protect your destiny, so it does not drift with passing waves. Destiny is not stolen with a single blow. It is redirected by small turns. Each time you ignore a gentle nudge, destiny shifts slightly. Each time you compromise with what is not of me, destiny grows dimmer. But each time you awaken and return, destiny is reset. I am not impatient with you. I am persistent in bringing you back. I call you to watchfulness to expose deception before it tightens its grip. Deception is strongest when it remains unnamed. When light shines on it, it loses power. Watchfulness does not require endless arguments. It requires timely light. One early realization can save you years of unraveling. One early decision to stop can spare you painful cycles. I do not want you to fight fiercely. I want you to avoid the battle altogether. I call you to watchfulness so your mind stays clear when chaos tries to blur the path. Chaos does not only come from outside, it rises within when information floods in. Emotions overlap, and pressure mounts. In chaos, the unwatchful react, the watchful listen. Listening does not slow you down, it makes you precise. When your mind is clear, you are not pulled into impulsive decisions. You choose steps that match the rhythm I set for you today. My beloved child, understand this. I do not teach you watchfulness so you can hunt the enemy. I teach you watchfulness so you can stay close to me. When you stay close to me, light goes before you. When you stay close to me, peace becomes the umpire of your choices. When you stay close to me, what is not of me reveals itself. You do not need to know every scheme. You only need to recognize my voice. My voice is not loud, but when you learn it, you will discern it even in the wind. The watchfulness I invite you into does not steal your joy. It keeps your joy pure. It does not take away freedom. It protects freedom from being stolen. It does not close your heart. It sets boundaries so your heart remains safe. You still love, still trust, still open yourself, but you are not naive. You walk with light, not illusion. There will be days when I awaken you with a gentle unrest. Do not rush to silence it with explanations. Ask me. There will be moments when I cause you to pause in the middle of a familiar rhythm. Do not force yourself forward. Listen. There will be times when I redirect you, even when you see no danger ahead. Do not blame me. I see farther. Watchfulness is the gift of love, love that does not wait until you are wounded to intervene. So, my beloved child, choose watchfulness each day, not through tension, but through communion. Nurture it with simple prayer, with my word, with obedience in small things. When you do, you will find yourself ahead of the trap, recognizing compromise while it is still only an offer, discerning doubt while it is still a whisper, sensing strange movement while it is still just a draft, not because you are wiser, but because you walk with me. And when you walk with me, you will not be left behind. You will not let destiny drift. You will not let deception tighten its hold. You will not let chaos obscure the way. You will walk steady, clear, and at peace because light goes before you. A hand holds you, and a whisper guides you step by step. Now pray as follows, Lord. I come before you while my heart is still trembling with things I have not yet found words for. At times I only feel my heart racing, my breath growing short, and a fragility as if one more small gust could make me collapse. Yet, Lord, I do not want to live in fear. I ask you to help me discern between the emotions rising within me and the foundation on which my life stands. Do not let me mistake these inner tremors for signs of failure or shame. Help me recognize that sometimes the very moment of vulnerability becomes the doorway where I stop bracing myself, stop trying to prove my worth, and stop clinging to what I no longer have the strength to carry. Lord, teach me spiritual watchfulness, not nervous tension, not holding my breath in anticipation of danger, but a holy awareness that you are guarding me. When unexpected news arrives and overturns the familiar order of my life, help me pause for a single breath and whisper within my heart, God is here. Remove from me the illusion that I must always be strong, always steady, always in control. Let me be safe in a deeper truth. I belong to you, and your hand never slips. Lord, I confess that I once called peace the quietness on the surface. I felt at peace when everything followed the plan, when I could predict tomorrow, when I still had backup options. Forgive me, Lord, for placing my peace on what is temporary. Teach me true peace, peace in the midst of upheaval, peace when my heart does not yet understand, peace when the world around me shakes while my soul remains anchored to something that cannot be dislodged. Lord, if the news that is coming feels like a chair being pulled away from where I was leaning, then become for me a new and firmer support. Help me know that you never remove anything without preparing a deeper foundation in its place. Keep me from letting information define me, from allowing the words of others to control the rhythm within my heart. I ask you to set your faithfulness as the anchor of my soul, so that I may tremble without collapsing, weep without despair, and feel confused without losing direction. Lord, I realize that I have grown accustomed to living with a sense of partial control. I read situations, predict reactions, prepare backup scenarios, and I think this will keep me safe. But Lord, show me the limits of my reasoning. It can analyze well, yet it was never created to carry the weight of faith. Help me release the need to understand everything before I trust. Lift from me the burden of having to manage, to be certain, to be ready in the way I once believed. Lord, prepare my heart, not only my mind. When my mind asks, what will happen? Teach my heart to ask a deeper question. Where am I with God in this very moment? Draw me away from the habit of self-soothing through logic, away from the spiral of imagined scenarios meant to reduce fear. I do not want to spend my strength anticipating what is coming. I want to use that strength to remain in you. Teach me surrender that is not reckless, but mature, born from relationship with you, not from confidence in myself. Lord, teach me the difference between hardness of heart and steadfast faith. I do not want to become someone who builds walls to avoid feeling and then calls that strength. Nor do I want to live as an exhausted warrior, bracing myself so no one sees my weakness. Lord, give me gentle strength, strength that can feel fully, yet does not hand the steering wheel to emotion. Grant me faith even when my knees tremble, the ability to keep trusting even when my heart has not yet caught up with understanding. Lord, when my body reacts to the unexpected, do not let me be ashamed of my humanity. Help me remember that touching my limits is not always a sign of the end. Sometimes it is the moment just before I am released from burdens I no longer have the strength to bear. Teach me to lay down the weights I have carried out of fear of disappointing others, fear of being misunderstood, fear of appearing weak. Lead me into a deeper truth. I do not need to be strong by old definitions. I need to stand upon the rock, you, yourself. Lord, I have often asked you for stronger faith, yet I confess that I also wished for it to grow without disturbing the familiar structures of my life. Forgive me for wanting maturity while keeping everything intact. Lord, if you are allowing a measure to draw near, not to condemn, but to reveal, grant me the courage to look honestly at what is being brought into the light, what I have truly built the foundation of my life upon. Lord, refine my faith in the fire, so that it is no longer a concept I speak of when everything is calm, but becomes my lifeline when familiar supports fall away. Help me recognize this endurance is not a foundation. It is only a reaction when the foundation is not yet firm. Lead me into rest, even in the midst of the battlefield, so that I do not live by reaction, but by a steadiness that comes from you. And when trials arrive, grant that I do not panic because I lack answers, but remain faithful in the present, holding on to you instead of gripping my fear. Lord, I am stepping into a place where old maps no longer work. The experiences that once gave me reassurance are no longer sufficient to explain what is happening. I cannot predict how things will unfold, nor can I fully soothe myself with what I currently understand. Lord, do not let me mistake temporary darkness for abandonment. Help me remember this. You do not remove the light to cause me to lose my way. You lower my range of sight so that I may learn to take your hand instead of clinging to answers. Lord, grant me the faith for the next step. Give me the courage to walk when the light is only enough for the present moment, so that I may learn to entrust myself with my soul, not merely agree with my mind. Teach me that this path is secured not by information, but by your presence. Help me live honestly. I may not understand, yet I remain. I may not yet see, yet I still believe. My hands may be empty, but my heart does not fall into emptiness, because I am held in your hands. Lord, I confess that fear often seeks to take hold of my mind first. It tells me that I am alone, that everything is beyond my control, that events will define who I am. Lord, break that voice. Do not let me hand over the governance of my inner life to external circumstances. Help me stop living in constant reaction anxiety, overanalysis, self-blame, hurried attempts to control. I am weary from holding myself tense for so long. Remind me that I can lay my burdens down, because I belong to you. Lord, guard my responses in moments of pressure, when news comes swiftly, forcefully, and beyond the natural measure of my sense of safety. Let it become a signal for me to turn inward, not to run away. Let my spirit speak louder than my natural instincts. The Lord is here. Let that quiet choice, unseen by others, be the place where I prevail. I do not ask to be without emotion. I ask that emotion not sit on the throne of my heart. Lord, in the hours ahead, if I hear something that unsettles my heart, remind me that you were there before I arrived. You saw this moment before it ever reached me. Help me remember that faith does not erase questions, but keeps me from sinking into them. Faith does not make me immune to sorrow, but keeps sorrow from becoming despair. Lord, do not let me be struck down by the deepest sense of being caught off guard, for you are still holding my life. Lord, let me stand firm not because I prepared well, but because I trusted in the right place. When my legs still tremble and my eyes are still wet with tears, help me recognize that the strength lifting me is not my own. Teach me to live unruled by what is temporary, but firmly anchored in the one who remains forever. And if this event exposes that I once placed the weight of my life upon fragile things, do not merely correct it, rebuild it. Establish within me a new foundation, so that from this point forward, whether the news is bad or good, I still belong to you. I am still held, still led, and steady with each step. I offer this prayer in the holy name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, so that together we may build a strong and growing community of faith.